You are now live with Dylan Kimlin.
Hello everyone, my name is Dylan Kimlin and welcome back to my YouTube channel, continuing the video content for you all in the Australian pickleball scene. Today's video is a pretty interesting one. We are going to take a deep dive into statistics and growth regarding the Australian pickleball scene. Now, I know this is probably something that a lot of you aren't really aware of. I know Pickleball Australia try to put out content regarding it, but yeah, any way I can provide more insight into the growth of the space and I guess analytical data from the government, it helps everyone. So that's what we're going to take a deep dive in today. What I've decided for these videos, because I am going to continually pump out videos going forward. Thank you everyone for the feedback regarding the last video I did on the NPL. So many people sent me messages thanking me for it. So it really incentivizes me to continue putting out content. One thing I'm going to add to my videos, I have thousands of t-shirts. So I just thought, cool little quirky thing. First 20 seconds or whatever, going to discuss the uniform I'm wearing and where it's from. This one's from Albion. So one of the original places in Australian pickleball, the Albion Superstars here, Albion All-Stars, sorry. I was part of this club with a long time. They're now under, I guess, Brisbane Pickleball Club doing pickleball. If you are in inner city Brisbane and you want to have a look-see, these guys have 2 indoor courts with outdoor services in Brisbane. Wonderful venue. Now, this logo, I have to look at myself in the camera when I'm doing it, North Brisbane Pickleball. Now, majority of you guys wouldn't even know about this club. It originally formed, I think Deb Rossi was the president or the starter of that particular group. And I think it eventually became a part of Brisbane Pickleball Club. So, yeah, really cool to have a uniform. This is the staff uniform. I get to wear it when I go and play pickleball. Really proud, and a big shout out to Peter and the team down in Albion. I hope you guys are doing all right. But that's just a little piece I want to bring into the content going forward. We all wear these t-shirts, right? So why not start making a little bit of legacy about them all? So let's dive into today's video. Now, I'm going to try and get this up for you all at home. Let's see if I mess this up. There we go. I'm in the corner. Look out. Pickleball Australia have graciously sent me through some data to go over with you all. Big thank you to the team at Pickleball Australia for doing so. If you haven't yet, please go and follow their social media pages. And they also have a member subscription for email. So once again, pop over to the Pickleball Australia website where you can find out information regarding that, because they constantly send through amazing information for all of our members. Now, I'll also say I'm not affiliated with PA. I have obviously done broadcasting for them for years now, but I'm not on a board or anything. So this is not me being biased. This is just me, for the love of the game, wanting to promote it for anyone that may be interested in finding out information. Now, they've sent through a media talking point, so I've always got to be wary of the media. And these are things for regarding statistics and data of the Australian pickleball scene. They do this is obviously for council, etc. You know, people that are looking to get into it. What is pickleball? We all know what pickleball is. I'm not going to get into it there. There's some cool pictures. If you're in those pictures, shout out to you all. About Pickleball Oz, yep, we all have the gist. Sorry, whoever did this up, as I'm going past a bit of a start of it here, but the main reason is I want to get into the data for it all for our viewers. Now, the big thing with PA that I've seen lately, obviously they're trying to go for NSO status, which is to effectively become a recognised sport in the country. So that's why they're really starting to pump up this sort of data so they can take it to council, etc., government, but also it's very good for our members. Now, memberships have dramatically increased over the years that I've been involved in pickleball. Now, I learnt, ironically, I'm wearing an Albion shirt, I learned how to play pickleball at Albion from Jen Ramamurphy, the current president of Pickleball Australia. She's an incredible coach, by the way. If you have the pleasure of learning the sport of pickleball via her, you're lucky. I know I am now. I remember talking to her at Albion way back, and this was way back, before COVID happened. Can I even say that on YouTube? I don't know what the rules are. Doesn't matter. We've done it. But we were the growth of the sport then was, we were blown away by the growth at that point. This is years ago. You know, we had the Australian Pickleball Championships at the time, and had I think there was like 150. I could be wrong there. Jen, you can correct me on that, or anyone that was in Australian Pickleball Champs years ago. Please let me know in the comments how many people we had, but it wasn't it wasn't much. You know, we got local club tournaments now. They get way more than what we had back then. But I remember speaking to Jen about the growth of the sport, and she was like a proud mum. She was like, "Oh, the sport's booming." Then obviously the big international event happened where we all of us got locked down. The growth of the sport just blew in Queensland, mainly because it was one of the few sports that we were allowed to actually play, with you know, the rules at the time, and as a result, I think it blossomed in Queensland, and then very quickly New South Wales and Victoria followed suit. So those are probably the three big states. We will get into state numbers in this video as we go down, but for membership growth, it is literally only up. That is a very positive graph for PA. They'll be very happy with that, and you can see the dates there at the bottom. So that's in 1 year. Now, state membership is also very positive. I mentioned New South Wales. The New South Wales region is huge. I think for a long time, a lot of people have just assumed that Queensland is the biggest state. Not the case. Not the case. I know, like, as I'm filming this, it's State of Origin is currently on. And yeah, let's just say there'll be a lot of people in Queensland that would not like to see these numbers. But yeah, New South Wales leading the way is great to see. Victoria, I mentioned, they had a bit of a stunted start with the pandemic due to the laws down there, but it's fair to say the Victorian pickleball space is quickly blossoming. Amazing to see, by the way, so many businesses picking up pickleball in Melbourne. I have noticed, by the way, viewers, that it's interesting. Each region has a different approach to pickleball. So Queensland, we've got a lot of I guess you can say council are really starting to get on board. There's a lot of local parks with just free courts. You can go and play whenever you want. There's also more of a Tennessee approach where you have a club. So a bunch of players play for a club. Victoria, it seems, there's businesses. So there's a lot of indoor businesses popping up all throughout Melbourne that are you can go and play for the business or an affiliate. So just interesting, right, to see the way that the sport is growing throughout our country. Awesome to see ACT here. They're leading the way in, you know, from the, if we look here, these numbers are all relatively similar. Really cool to see ACT growing. I know they've got representation in the National Pickleball League, and they've got some great players up and coming in tournaments, so really positive. Shout out to South Australia. So I went to the South Australian Championships this year, and wow, what a tournament down in Adelaide. That was 2 weeks ago. Yep, last week as I'm filming. So incredible event over at the Lights. Huge shout out to the South Australian board. Ruth Craven, the president, amazing effort. And Greg and Leanne, the tournament directors, were just phenomenal. So yeah, so much love over there in SA, and I know that number will continue to grow. Tassie as well. I had the pleasure of doing the Tassie Championships last year. This year, it sounds like it was a great success, their tournament. And yeah, these regions are blossoming. I haven't had the chance to go to WA yet, but I'm going over to Perth later on this year for the Perth Grand Slam. So excited for that. And my beloved Northern Territory. So I'm obviously from Alice Springs, Northern Territory. Grew up in Darwin. And this little area, it just warms my heart to see my NT growing as well. Now, the big difference here between the numbers is that this here is huge. So New South Wales basically doubled. Outrageous growth down there. So once again, this is within a year. To go from 1 year to that figure there is just nuts. And that has been the tale for pickleball since it started in Australia, pretty much. It just doubles. So, you know, if you are someone that's looking at getting your local venue on board, wherever you may be playing, and they need to say, hey, well, is this really a growth market? Is this a sport that's actually growing? This is literal proof of it. So, membership breakdown via each state. So there's your 6-month increase, which is literally what I'm referring to. Good old WA with a big 55% increase. That is awesome to see. And it's interesting to note that Queensland probably, this is probably, that's a zoom in. Queensland has probably had the, I don't know statistically, but it's probably up there with the smallest growth for this year, for their overall years. Like they have been booming the entire time. So 20% is still a big increase, but it's not as crazy as it has been historically. But pretty much everyone else, that is mental. Big increases across the board. Vic with a nearly a 50% as well. Oh, there's my NT. Look at that, 47. So proud of those guys. But across the board, as you can see, big numbers, and it's very positive for PA. Big shout out to the clubs and associations for Pickleball Australia. Look at that number. Northern Beaches with 1,622. They could have, that's like a nearly equivalent to the Australian Pickleball Championships by themselves. That is just mind-boggling stats from Northern Beaches. So well done to the New South Wales led club. Sunny Coast, how cool is this? Sunny Coast Pickleball Club, reasonably new, and they've nearly got 1,000 members. It's outrageous. Those two clubs alone are bigger than other groups. So well done to Sunny Coast as well. And then we've got, as you can see, we can continue that. I'll bring it down so you guys can have a look. See, please pause the video now if you want to have a look at exact figures there. But up and coming groups, like it's really positive to see the representation. And I think a lot of you guys and girls at home who only play tournaments, there's a lot of players that don't play tournaments, and that's something we always need to remember. So there's a bunch of people that only play rec or social play, and they're part of their memberships, and they represent their clubs well. So this here just shows some fantastic numbers across the board, and there's our bottom groups there to round things out. So membership annual growth. So this is, if you're a numbers nerd, this will excite you. So this here shows the exact growth I'm talking about. 2023, we had 4,000 members. There is that gigantic increase I'm talking about. 118% is just outrageous. To go to 8,700, and then the following year, 90% increase to 16, like that. That yeah, I don't know, like if you're a business person at home, but to have 4,000 jump to 16,000 in a very small amount of time is just mind-boggling, and that's why Pickleball Australia would be so pleased. And as we stand currently, 1st of January to 1st of May, we've got a 12% growth, which is still, 2,000 players, which is just mental. So the growth of the sport is dramatically increasing as we go along. Now, members, how cool is this? Pickleball is a predominantly female played sport. So 55% of our players are female. Just goes to show how wonderful our sport is. I do know, like I'm a male, right? Like I played footy, rugby, baseball my whole life, and they're largely dominated by men. So this is really cool. For me personally, this is really cool. Makes commentary really fun too, because I get to commentate on everyone in a wide variety of demographics. Now, age range, 8-year-olds to 90-year-olds. I had the pleasure of commentating with a gentleman in South Australian Championships 2 weeks ago who was 87 years of age. Just phenomenal. And he was good on the court too. I had the chance to watch him have a bit of a hit, and he's gone through some health things, but we hope you're doing all right, mate, and look forward to commentating you in the next tournament you decide to play in. But 50% of our participants are over 55. Now, that's an interesting one. There are a lot of people that say the pickleball's an old person sport, or it's for an older demographic. I would say, and Pickleball Australia probably would agree with this, that number is dramatically dropping. So, I've been saying it for a long time. For instance, the 35 plus category is ridiculous. It is so cutthroat across the country. But, we've got, regarding our masters and seniors category, or our supers for our New Zealand viewers, they just continue to get stronger. They've got the MLPA masters, we've got the APC or the AMC. We will get into that as the video goes down. the Masters challenges there, the Australian Masters with Pickleball Tournaments Australia, as well as the All Stars League. Like, there's just so many divisions catered to this demographic. It's an incredible sport to get into if you are in that older demographic. Now, this here is an interesting one. I talked about the growth of affiliates. Now, if you are someone who wonders what's the difference between an affiliate and a club, well, an affiliate is effectively a business. It's probably the easiest way of looking at it. So, whereas a club, I do from memory when I was a president, there was two different things. It may have changed since then, but venue number is gigantic. That is the number one problem in Australian pickleball right now. We don't have enough venues to play in. So 500 plus venues, that's awesome. Hopefully that number continues to grow. 2,800 sessions per week. There's probably a significantly higher number than that of sessions that aren't public. Like, let's face it, guys, you all do your own little private groups that technically would count as a session. So that number would be way bigger. Tournaments. Now, PA have really been busy making sanctioned tournaments a lot more of a thing, I guess. So the tournaments schedule for this year is probably something that Pickleball Australia would like to work on for next year. There were a lot of chopping and changing, making events, prioritizing other events, which, I'm no doubt the PA team is just trying to fix that up. And I imagine 2026 will be a lot more clean and polished. I have noticed also, I've always known Pickleball Australia as PAA, so Pickleball Association of Australia. They've obviously done a bit of a rebranding to PA. Obviously, that's trying to make it clear that they're not TA with Tennis Australia. But either way, I'm cool with that. PAA doesn't roll off the tongue as well. But cool. Now, the leagues. How cool is this? So for you pros out there, big prize money this year with the $1 million of prize money for PPA Australia and MLPA Australia. Those guys have a tweed event this weekend. Looking at my big calendar here. Yeah. So good luck to everyone over there playing in that event. The NPL, we've just had our NPL finals. Congratulations to the Outback and Harrison Brown, Selena Taruya winning the finals MVPs for that. So once again, this is relevant to growth. The prize money has just skyrocketed in the several years that, considering, we just looked at the stats, we only had a couple of thousand players, to now go to you can make a lot of money. It's pretty awesome to see. Now, APC, long story short, this is going to be ridiculously big. So I had the pleasure of calling last year's APC. It was simply exceptional. We had so many people from around the country and internationally come to APC, and I really hope I'm involved with this year's APC. It's going to be very exciting over at Pimpama. They announced all the ambassadors, which is really cool. So once again, if you haven't followed Pickleball Australia on social media, please do, because this is very handy information and it's going to be an absolute treat to get involved with. So there's the dates. It's going to be a big one, 29th to the 6th. This here is very interesting. So it's the first time, I believe, and please correct me, PA, if I'm wrong here, that we're having prize money. Now, I've commentated a lot of tournaments in Australia. I don't think there's ever been prize money for a state tournament. State or I think QPT Redcliffe did prize money one of the times, and I think that was frowned upon. But APC, 30K. That's awesome. So once again, this is a tournament that's it's got so much legacy about it, Australian Pickleball Championships, but also now it's got the big money involved where it's going to be cutthroat, and it's going to be so much fun. Largest tournament in the Southern Hemisphere was last year with 1,200. 700 players are already registered as of May 15th for our next APC. If you're someone that hasn't signed up yet, you might want to get that done, considering they're expecting huge numbers and also accommodation may be a bit of a pickle. Now, Australian Masters Cup, this is what I was referring to um, with our seniors players. So 1,200 players. I want you to take that into consideration. So this is it's like a season, I suppose you could say. And that's incredible. So well done to PA, great initiative. 40 clubs getting involved, so you represent, you battle it out in your clubs, and it'll all come together on the Australian Pickleball Championships. The national champs will be played at Pimpama. So, yeah, that's outrageous, and well done to that. Now, social media, obviously, I work in media, so this is good info for me. For you guys at home, it's probably not as important, but it's probably important for you at home if you are on a club committee and you want to try and build the growth of your club. This is data that's good for you. What social media outlets should I be targeting? What demographics should I be targeting to promote my club, to promote my paddle brand? All of this stuff is relevant. Okay, so I've found historically that Facebook and Instagram have been the biggest pickleball markets for Australia. Now, obviously, other countries may be different, but here in Australia, it's typically what our players use. Now, Facebook typically has an older demographic, and we can see there the growth has doubled effectively. So another, well, not double, but very handy growth for Facebook page. Groups have skyrocketed, which is awesome. And Instagram, which typically targets a slightly younger demographic than Facebook, has also significantly gone up. YouTube subs, for me personally, who does all the broadcasting pretty much, 95%. Dave from Video On does the other 5%. This is cool. And YouTube growth, I can say personally, when I started broadcasting pickleball in Australia, we only had like 40 views for an entire tournament. Now we regularly get thousands of people tuning in. Just this weekend at the NPL finals, we had so many international viewers. The conversation was real. There was non-stop people discussing players and things happening on the court. And Ash and I in the green zone were just constantly arguing about things. But the idea is to make it entertaining. So I can say firsthand, YouTube in Australia, or the way we broadcast in Australia is different. I've really tried to make people realize this. So we're not tennis. We're not pickleball in America. We're Australia. You think about every sport that we have in Australia, how do they do their broadcasts and why are they successful? So rugby, AFL, netball, soccer or football, whatever, however you refer to it, they're all high drama, high intensity, loud, exciting. So I've realized that in probably the last year and a half with a bit of study, that I think that's what the Australian market prefers. And we can see that our YouTube subscribers have gone up as a result. Our viewership has significantly gone up as a result. And, you know, I'm curious, like, whether this will continue to be a positive trend, is because I do believe we are doing things a little bit different here in Australia regarding broadcasting of pickleball, but it's targeted to the Australian audience, which is so important. So for you guys that are managing your social media pages at home, this is very important information. And most importantly, know how to target your own audience to get more players involved with your club. So interesting that we got LinkedIn followers there. PA, come on, guys. That's a corporate thing. Which pickleball player really cares about LinkedIn followers? Sorry, guys, I had to light you up there. But so here we go. This is some quick info for you all. Pickleball is fastest growing sport in Australia with a 67% growth. It's crazy. We are going to get into this data here. I'm going to bring up the analytics for you all and do a deep dive in a tick. PA YouTube has had, nearly 190K. Very positive. That number will substantially grow as we go along. So that's considering where we're at and the growth of the sport. As someone who commentates for like a bunch of other sports, they would dream to have these numbers. So that's very positive for us. We have the third largest national membership in the world behind USA and Canada. So once again, I want you to think about also and I know I'm getting into the numbers here, and some of you are like, oh, Dylan, you're a bit of a nerd, but we have what, 28 million people, something like that, in the country. So for us to have the third largest national membership against someone like China or any of the European countries, that's a great achievement. So well done to Pickleball Australia for that. And that there is the number I just said we had. I could be wrong with that number, 26, 28 million, whatever it may be. USA nearly has more pickleball participants than we do as have people in a country. So talk about big growth there for the sport. There's our sponsors. Not going to go too deep into it there, but you can please pop over to pickleballaustralia.com.org to get more information. There's our show court that was on APC last year. It's awesome. Now, data. This here is the actual government statistics on pickleball. I did do a social media post. I'm going to move my head out of the way here because I'm blocking a lot of it. Here we go. Am I going to bugger this up? So, there we go. So, this is important because of this is the Ausplay website. So, you'll notice the dates are a little bit out of date here. 2024, January to December. The next Ausplay data that will be released, and keep in mind, that was released the 30th of April. So this is actually relatively new data as of time filming. So the next one will be released in October, I believe. That's what the government says, the website. Please pop over to clearinghouseforsport.gov.au, or if you just Google Ausplay, if you're someone that really wants to dive into the data, especially if you're going for council grants, etc., this is really important information. Now, this here, I will say this is a giant, you can see it's huge, but here is a bunch of info, classic government. They really dive into all the fun stuff. Body parts injured, like why? Anyway, the one we're going to look at here is participation by activity in adults. So that's on 17. Click on 17. And you can see the information here. Now, it's pretty interesting to see sort of where everyone is at. Now, what I want to really put things into perspective, right? So walking, believe it or not, is the most participated sport in the country. Swimming, cycling, football, soccer, there is probably the first, team sport that's really on that list. Tennis. Healthy there for our tennis friends. They've had a bit of a growth in males, but then there's a lot of red here, which I wonder why that may be. Now, obviously, we want our tennis clubs or our tennis friends to succeed. I think there is a bit of a negative connotation with tennis from the tennis side of things regarding pickleball. How many of you guys and girls at home have been to an event, or you're talking to your friends and you say, look, I'm from pickleball, and they immediately are like, ugh, gross, you're a virus, you're taking over our sport, get off our courts. Tennis players, for anyone of you watching this right now, that's not how we feel about you guys. Like, a lot of our players still enjoy playing tennis. A lot of our players come from table tennis or squash, padel. I came from baseball. So it's not just you guys. We love everyone. And I think tennis really need to pull their finger out because, if we can coexist, then both sports will significantly do better off. Now, pickleball is down here. Believe it or not, we are the 17th most played sport in the country. Super exciting, and well done to pickleball regarding that. So, once again, pause this if you want to have a look at it properly. But I want you to take a look at the sport that's just above us. Rugby league. We are 10,000 players behind rugby league in participation. That is mental, considering how much money is in rugby and how much of a culture that rugby has, or a cultural influence that rugby has on our country. If anyone ever doubts pickleball, just show them that. That's mental. We are probably going to hop rugby by the end of the year. considering our statistical growth. And I think it's not very long before we are up here pushing these sports. Table tennis, look at that, well done. 363,000 people. Once again, considering our country has like around that 20 to less than 30 million people, that's awesome. Very good for our country and our continuous growth. Now, obviously, the probably one alarming thing that we have here is our juniors. So pickleball has obviously got a booming, 40 plus demographic, but our junior category is something that we as a collective really needs to work on. I was director of pickleball at Focus Pickleball Redcliffe. Caroline's over there doing an incredible job now, where Chris Novich, who runs the business, was very much focused on getting kids in the sport. That is the way, if you want to grow the sport properly and successfully, you have to touch the grassroots. You have to get the grassroots involved. Now, that is something that I imagine Pickleball Australia probably got on their to-do list, is get the youngsters involved. I really try and promote our juniors within the broadcast. I always try and get them on the stream if I can. And hopefully you as a club can start having more junior events and para events in your tournaments to come. I would love to see more para representation. I've just started working with Wheelchair Basketball Australia, and I really look forward to seeing how those guys do things so that hopefully we can learn from it a bit in pickleball. But either way, viewers, you can find this information once more on Ausplay. I'm going to leave this video here. This is a relatively short one compared to what I normally do. But if you haven't yet, please follow and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well as my Facebook and Instagram page. I'll bring them up for you there. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And it's going to be a good one. I've got a couple really good interviews lined up for you all coming forward. Just want to, once again, really continue to start building the YouTube channel here and getting more data out for you all. So thank you. Have a lovely day, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.